In the last few days, there have been a further 2 fatal shootings which have made international news. On Monday, a man was shot dead at a college campus in North Carolina after it emerged he'd been fired from his job. On Sunday, tragic story. 1-year-old Braylon Robinson was killed after his 3-year-old brother found a gun and shot him with it.
These are just the latest devastating incidents to once again put the spotlight on gun laws in the US. And we're now... Tech, Aurora Movie Theatre and Sandy Hook. 4 names in a long list of locations across America that will be forever associated with deaths as a consequence of guns. But that hasn't stopped people there allowing even their children to own them. This is 10-year-old Cheyenne Roberts, who fired her first gun at the age of 4. Whilst most kids have a collection of toys, she has a collection of 9 guns, including a semi-automatic assault rifle in her favourite colour purple. It can fire up to 60 rounds a minute. Cheyenne's so passionate about shooting, she's campaigned against politicians to make sure her right to bear arms remains. Her dad says he'd even trust her to have her guns in her bedroom if a law in their home state of New Jersey hadn't made it illegal.
Well, there she is, little 10-year-old firing weapons, and her father, Dan Roberts, joins us now from Philadelphia. Mr. Roberts, thanks ever so much for joining us on Good Morning Britain. Many people over here will find it hard to understand the kind of sense of responsibility that you entrust your young daughter with when it comes to these potentially lethal weapons. Why do you want her to use guns?
Well, I think she's demonstrated that she has the responsibility necessary to handle them safely and responsibly. There are any number of things that children can get a hold of on a regular basis that could be possibly lethal if misused.
The point about weapons, of course, is that that's one of their purposes. They cause harm. You also have another child. You have a 5-year-old son, don't you? And we've just heard the news about what happens when one child finds a weapon and then can use it lethally. Do you have a concern when it comes to your little boy?
No, because the firearms that my daughter uses in competition are kept secure as required by state law unless we're at a practice session or she's actively competing. And I would also add that to your earlier comment that firearms have many purposes. They're not just to cause harm. If that were the case, then there must be something wrong with all 9 of her competition guns because they haven't harmed anybody.
Okay, Mr. Roberts, it's Piers Morgan here. I obviously got into lots of debate about this when I was at CNN in America, and I know that you're a pro-gun rights.
I've seen the episodes.
Yeah. Here's where I come from on this. I come from a country here in Britain where we have on average about 35 gun deaths a year. America today will have about 80 gun deaths, of which 35 will be murder, another 50 or so will be suicide, another 100 or so will be hit by gunfire but won't die. This happens every single day in America. 100,000 people are hit by gunfire in America every year, and 32,000 will die from those gunshot wounds. The rest of the world looks at America's gun laws and thinks this situation is completely nuts.
Okay. And what was the question that you would like me to answer?
My question is this. I have in my hand here a Kinder Surprise chocolate egg. Okay? This is a little chocolate egg that you get that all kids all around Europe, very popular here. These are banned in America. Okay, these are banned. These are banned because a little toy inside may be a health hazard to a child. And yet there you are, a father who is entrusting a young girl, a 10-year-old girl, with this armory of weapons. You'd be even happy for her to have it in her bedroom. And my question to you is, how can it make any sense that a country like America, one of the great superpowers of the world, can ban a little chocolate egg because it may choke your daughter, but you're happy for her to have this arsenal of guns in her bedroom?
Well, as far as for the reasons behind why a Kinder Egg was banned, you'd have to ask the FDA or a representative of the FDA. I don't know the reasons why they did that. As far as the firearms go, the fact of the matter is, Piers, there are millions of children across the United States that use firearms safely, responsively, and have fun doing it on a regular basis. And the reason you don't hear about them is because it's not sensational. It's normal part of growing up. I had a rifle in my bedroom with access to the ammunition when I was around Cheyenne's age. Now, I don't let her have access to the ammunition, not because I don't trust her to be responsible, but because it would be a violation of state law.
But Mr. Roberts, over 500 children in America died last year alone from accidents in homes involving guns. 500.
Okay.
You know, in Britain, when we had the Dunblane
CDC
massacre... Well, let me finish my question. In Dunblane in Scotland in 1996, there was a massacre very similar to Sandy Hook in America. 16 young children were murdered by a lone gunman. And we changed all the gun laws in Britain within an 18-month period. Now almost nobody has guns, not even the police force here. And guess what? The less guns we had on the streets, the less people died from guns. After Sandy Hook in America, where 20 children between the ages of 5, 6 and 7 were massacred in their classroom, America has done absolutely nothing to change the gun laws whatsoever. It didn't agree to even background checks, so we know if criminals or mentally insane people are buying guns. It didn't agree to any limit on the capacity of magazines. You can have 50 bullets, 100 bullets. It didn't agree on any limitation on assault rifles. So you can go into a superstore or supermarket in America and you can simply help yourself to a semi-automatic rifle. But again, I come back to you, but you can't buy a damn Kinder Surprise chocolate egg. And there's got to be a point. What will it take in America? What will it take if it wasn't the murder of... Well, let me finish. It wasn't the murder of 20 school children in their classroom. What will it take to change the gun laws in your country, do you think?
Piers, I have to correct one of the assertions you made. I'm not aware of any supermarket in the United States where you can buy a firearm of any kind.
Let me educate you. Anybody hearing you say that, just get on the get on the Walmart, which is the biggest supermarket chain in America. Get onto the Walmart website right now, and there will be a plethora of assault rifles and handguns that you can buy online right now. So that is a complete lie, sir.
Well, hold on. Excuse me. 1 second, Piers. First of all, purchasing firearms online from any company's website is hardly the same as walking into a brick-and-mortar store, which is what you stated. Secondly, Walmart is far more than just a supermarket, which is how you described them.
But you think it's perfectly rational that somewhere like Walmart can ban chocolate eggs but allow the sale of automatic weapons and semi-automatic weapons?
Well, Walmart didn't ban the eggs. The federal government did.
But do you agree with it?
Do I agree with the fact that the federal government banned the candy from Europe? I would have to be more educated about the reasoning for why they did that.
You see, I look at your daughter, and I look at a case that happened 3 or 4 months ago in Arizona of a young 9-year-old girl. She was a very, very tiny girl. She went to a gun range called Bullets and Burgers. And she was taught how to use guns by a former... You know the story. And she was taught by a former US Marine how to fire weapons of increasing power, encouraged by her parents behind her, like you would have done. Eventually, he gave her an Uzi submachine gun. We're watching this now. This is a 9-year-old girl legally allowed in America to fire a loaded Uzi machine gun. And what we see is this video cutting out after 2 bullets because the 3rd bullet, she lost control, as she would, and she shot the instructor dead. Now, that girl has to live with the consequences of that for the rest of her life. And so I simply say to you again, with all due respect, there's got to be a moment when America looks at its gun laws and says to itself, things have to change, even for the sake of saving children's lives.
Well, with all due respect to the instructor that lost his life, and I've been on public record, I was asked about this when it happened because several people erroneously assumed it was Cheyenne that was involved. That instructor, and he was actually more of an attendant than an actually accredited instructor. There's been no documentation or evidence that I'm aware of that he was actually an instructor. But he made, as an instructor myself, I can say with complete confidence, he made several fundamental safety errors that directly contributed to his death. And if he had followed the procedures that you're supposed to follow, that we would not be having this conversation.
But finally, just to clarify, you are happy with 9-year-old girls firing Uzi machine guns in gun ranges in America?
I think it is completely dependent on the particular person and not an age.
All right. Dan Roberts, we appreciate your time this morning. Thanks very much indeed for joining us.
Thank you.